The reality is that, well, let me just take a prediction. I think that Google will open source their models because the most important thing that Google can do is reinforce the value of search. And the best way to do that is to scorch the earth with these models, which is to make them widely available and as free as possible. That will cause Microsoft to have to catch up, and that will cause Facebook to have to really look in the mirror and decide whether they're going to cap the betting that they've made on AR, VR, and reallocate very aggressively to AI. I mentioned this I did this Lex Friedman podcast, but that should be what Facebook does. And the reason is, if Facebook and Google and Microsoft have roughly the same capability and the same model, there's an element of machine learning that I think is very important, which is called reinforcement learning. And specifically, it's reinforcement learning from human feedback, right? So these RLHF pipelines, these are the things that will make your stuff unique. So if you're a startup, you can build a reinforcement learning pipeline. How? You build a product that captures a bunch of usage. We talked about this before. That data set is unique to you as a company. You can feed that into these models, get back better answers, you can make money from it. Facebook has an enormous amount of reinforcement learning inside of Facebook. Every click, every comment, every like, every share. Twitter has that data set. Google inside of Gmail and search. Microsoft inside of Minecraft and Hotmail. So my point is, David's right. The huge companies, I think, will create the substrates. And I think they'll be forced to scorch the earth and give it away for free. And then on top of that is where you can make money. And I would just encourage entrepreneurs to think, where is my edge in creating a data set that I can use for reinforcement learning? That I think is interesting. That's kind of saying, I buy the ingredients from the supermarket, but then I can still construct a dish that's unique. And, the salt is there, the pepper is there, but how I use that will determine whether you like the thing or not. And I think that, that is the way that I think we need to start thinking about it. The biggest opportunity here is for Facebook. I mean, they need to get in this conversation ASAP. I mean, to think that, look, PyTorch was like a pretty seminal piece of technology that a lot of folks in AI and machine learning were using for a long time. TensorFlow before that. And what's so funny about Google and Facebook is they're a little bit kind of they're not really making that much progress. I mean, Facebook released this kind of rando version of AlphaFold recently. It's not that good. I think these companies really need to get these products in the wild as soon as possible. It cannot be the case that you have to email people and get on some list. I mean, this is Google and Facebook, guys. Come on. By the way, Jason, what you're doing right now is you're creating a human feedback reinforcement learning pipeline for ChatGPT. So just the fact that you asked that question and, over time, if ChatGPT has access to your GPS information and then knows that you went to restaurant A versus B, it can intuit, and it may actually prompt you to ask, hey, Jason, we noticed you were in the area. Did you go to Bottega? If you did, how would you rate it 1 through 5? That reinforcement learning now allows the next person that asks, what are the top 5 restaurants, to say, well, over 1,000 people that have asked this question, here's actually the best answer versus a generic rank of the open web, which is what the first data set is. That's what's so interesting about this. So this is why, if you're a company that already owns the eyeballs, you have to be running to get this stuff out there. This week is the JP Morgan conference. Freeberg mentioned it last week. I had dinner on Wednesday with this really interesting company based in Zurich. And what they have is basically a library of ligands, right? And so these ligands are used as a substrate to deliver all kinds of molecules inside the body. And what's interesting is that they have a portfolio of 1,000 of these, but really what they have is they have all the nuclear medicine about whether it works. So, they target glioblastoma. And so all of a sudden they can say, well, this ligand can actually cross the blood-brain barrier and get to the brain. They have an entire data set of that and a whole bunch of nuclear imagery around that. They have something for soft cell carcinoma. So then they have that data set. So to your point, that's really valuable because that's real work that Google or Microsoft or OpenAI won't do, right? And if you have that and you bring it to the problem, you can probably make money. There's a business there to be built.